Warm greetings from the high 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. Hope you all are well out there. Um, Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Prayers to all of you. Um, Thank the mods on deck. Please be respectful in the chat. This is a new week, another week approaching without any information pertaining to Summer Wells. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. I want to bring you commentary by Child Safety Los Angeles Criminal Law, Child Crime Prevention and Safety Center. Every 40 seconds, a child goes missing or is abducted in the United States. Approximately 840,000 children are reported missing each year, and the FBI estimates that between 85 and 90% of these are children. While most reports of missing or abducted children are resolved within hours, many involve situations where a child goes missing permanently or for an extended period of time. The following are some of the key issues surrounding missing and abducted children. Amber Alerts. The Amber Alert system represents a partnership between broadcaster cell service providers, state transportation services, and local police, in which warning messages are quickly and widely disseminated in order to find abducted children. Amber Alert stands for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response and was created to honor Amber Hagerman, a 9-year-old girl who was kidnapped and murdered in Arlington, Texas. Over 800 children have been rescued because of Amber Alerts, and these messages have proved to be a highly effective tool in finding missing children and protecting children from abduction. Family abduction. Family kidnappings make up half of all reported abductions in the United States. Family abduction is typically committed by parents, and it involves a significantly higher proportion of female perpetrators when compared to other kidnapping offenses. Children under the age of 6 are most frequently targeted for family abductions, and these often occur in the midst of bitter divorce or child custody battles between parents. Family abduction poses unique issues for law enforcement, as the child may be unwilling to leave his or her abductor, and other family members may be involved in concealing and aiding the abducting parent. Non-family abduction. Non-family abductions include kidnappings, committed by acquaintances and strangers. Acquaintance abductions make up 27% of child abductions and is committed by a disproportionately high number of juvenile offenders. Let me say that again. Acquaintance abductions make up 27% of all child abductions and is committed by a disproportionately high number of juvenile offenders. Acquaintance abductions also have the highest number of female and teenage victims and is often associated with other crimes such as sexual and physical assault. Abductions committed by strangers typically occur in outdoor locations. Stranger abduction is most likely to involve a firearm when compared to the other types of abduction and is associated with sexual assault in female victims and robbery in male victims. Runaway. Children who run away and become homeless is a serious and pervasive issue. 1 in 7 children between the ages of 10 and 18 will run away from home, and young people between the ages of 12 and 17 are at a greater risk to become homeless than adults. 75% of runaways are female, and between 6 and 22% of homeless girls are pregnant. Between 20 and 40% of young people who run away from home identify as part of the LGBTQ community. Half of all runaways report escaping physical abuse in the home, while 38% escape emotional abuse and 17% acknowledge being subject to sexual abuse by a family or household member. Children who run away from home face greater risk of anxiety, depression, suicide, poor health, and low self-esteem, and are more likely to be forced into prostitution, drug sales, and other illegal activities. Physically, mentally disabled children. In many cases, a child is missing or who has been abducted may have physical or mental disabilities, which can make it more difficult to find and return the child. When a child is developmentally disabled, he or she may have difficulty communicating with others about their needs, identity, or home address. This can place the child in a greater degree of danger. These children are especially susceptible to being abducted, and it may be harder to return them to their parents when they are lost. Physical disabilities can also make it more difficult for missing children to be discovered and returned and provided necessary medical care and treatment. Law enforcement agencies receive special training in handling cases involving missing or abducted children who have mental or physical disabilities. That is the said information by this child-safety.Los Angeles criminal law. If you need verification for the said situation, there was something else in this article, but I'm going to recap on what is said. 840,000 children reported missing each year. FBI estimates that between 85 and 90% of these are children. While most of reports of missing or abducted children are resolved within hours, many involve situations where a child goes missing permanently or for an extended period of time. The following are the key issues surrounding missing and abducted children. So I mentioned Amber Alerts, family abduction, non-family abduction, runaway, and physically, mentally disabled children. And 27% of child abductions is committed by a disproportionately higher number of juvenile offenders. Acquaintance abductions also have the highest number of female and teenage victims and is often associated with other crimes such as sexual and physical assault. That is for non-family abduction. Family abduction is typically committed by parents, and it involves a significantly higher proportion of female perpetrators when compared to other kidnapping offenses. Children under the age of 6 are most frequently targeted for family abductions, and these often occur in the midst of a bitter divorce or child custody battles between the parents. And that is the said information. Take the information as you see fit. I also want to bring you said information pertaining to life insurance policies because it will play a role in the content that I'm going to bring to you. Thank you so much. Kenzie, why you got to put all that in there? Come on now. Quotacy. Life insurance claims for a missing person. This is by Quotacy.com if you need verification for the storyline. What happens when someone with life insurance goes missing? A person mysteriously disappearing is not a common occurrence, but it can happen. For these missing individuals that have life insurance and families, is there anything that can be done? At what point does a missing person get declared dead? Today, we'll answer these questions and more in this article. When an uninsured person goes missing, someone who is covered by life insurance is called an insured. When an insured person dies, the beneficiaries receive a death benefit check. In order to receive these proceeds, proof of the insured's death needs to be sent to the insurance company. In the event that there is no evidence of the cause of death or that the person has even died, the situation can become frustrating. Life insurance is there to replace the income of a provider who has died. Without this ongoing financial support, the family would likely suffer. Life insurance replaces this money. If a provider disappears rather than dies, this income is still lost. The beneficiaries still suffer. So are the insurance companies still obligated to pay out the policy's death benefit? Yes, eventually. When a person is presumed dead. In the United States, 4 things must happen before a court will declare a missing person dead. The person has been missing without explanation or communication for a continuous specific amount of time, typically 7 years. There must be no reasonable explanation for the disappearance, i.e., a fugitive from the law would not meet this criteria. Very interesting. No fugitives from law. There must be total absence of communication from the missing person during these years. A diligent search for the missing person needs to have been conducted. The beneficiary of a life insurance policy can then go to the insurance company with the court's declaration. The insurance company will then pay out the death benefit proceeds under a rebuttable, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Rebuttable presumption of death, A rebuttable presumption of death is important to understand in this situation. This means that evidence can be brought at any time to prove the missing person is still alive. If the person who was declared dead later on is discovered alive, the insurance company has the right to take back the death benefit proceeds plus interest. However, If the insurance company and beneficiary previously compromised on a settlement less than the full death benefit amount, then the insurance company does not have the right to take it back. Repeat that again. If the insurance company and beneficiary previously compromised on a settlement less than the full death benefit amount, then the insurance company does not have the right to take it back. Here's an example. John's mother, Linda, lives in a memory care facility because she has Alzheimer's disease. Linda owns a $500,000 life insurance policy, and John is the primary beneficiary. One day, Linda wandered away from the facility and could not be found, even after extensive searches. After 3 years, John reached a $300,000 settlement with the life insurance company. A few months after reaching the settlement, Linda is found miles away in a home for the poor. In this situation, the insurance company cannot request the $300,000 from John. However, John also won't receive any more funds when Linda does eventually pass away. If the insurance company doesn't think the case is strong enough to presume the insured dead and denies the claim, the beneficiary has some options. A beneficiary's options if an insured is missing. When an insured person goes missing and the beneficiary assumes the person to be dead, the beneficiary will usually file a death claim with the insurance company. If the insurance company doesn't think the case is strong enough to presume the insured dead and denies the claim, the beneficiary has some options. Number one, petition the court to declare the missing person dead. Number two, sue the insurance company for payment of the death benefit. If neither of these routes is successful, the beneficiary has no choice but to wait until enough time has passed for the state to declare the insured dead. While the beneficiary waits, it's advisable to keep the policy in force. In other words, keep paying the policy's premiums. This is because in order for the insurance company to be required to pay the death benefit, the policy must be enforced when the insured dies. If the beneficiary stops paying the premiums while the insured is missing, very difficult for the beneficiary to argue that the insured did indeed die while the policy was active. If it's discovered that the insured died many years earlier, the beneficiary will be refunded the premiums that were paid after this actual date of death. Exception in the case of catastrophic event. If a person goes missing as a result of a catastrophic event, such as an airplane crash or flood, usually a beneficiary will not have to wait the designated time period before presumption of death can apply. Circumstantial evidence may be enough to state the date of the occurrence to be the date of death. How to file a death benefit claim. If the insured is not missing, filing a death benefit claim is relatively straightforward. Step one, if possible, contact the insurance agent who sold the policy, or if a group policy, life policy, the employer who offered the coverage. Two, obtain a copy of the official death certificate and other documents. Three, complete a claim form from the insurance company. Four, submit the claim paperwork, IRS forms, death certificate to the insurance company. When starting the process of filing a life insurance claim, the best thing to do is get the agent who sold the policy involved in the process. He or she will be able to provide you with almost everything you need to know to file a claim. If the policy was purchased through Quote, contact us and we can help you through the process if need assistance. And they have a video inside this that says, watch what happens when an insured goes missing. If you need more information, and that is the information. Let's see. What else I got on here? Let's see. Okay. As I say, I'm going to read this one more time and then I'll get into my commentary. Steps before a missing person is declared dead. The insured needs to be missing for a set period of time, typically 7 years. There must be no reasonable explanation for the disappearance. 3, there must be no contact from the insured. 4, a diligent search must have been performed and concluded. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you want to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. All super chats are welcome during the live. That is my said commentary pertaining to the presumption of death. In order to receive funds of a missing person, a person would have to be declared 7 years in the United States in order for any friend, family, foe to collect said insurance money on the missing persons. 7 years. Declared dead or unless it was a catastrophic event, such as a fire, flood, tornado, hurricane. You get my drift. And the other information I brought you is pertaining to missing children. It is estimated 840,000 children are reported missing. And you also know that there will be a percentage, I can't quote, of people who will not report their said children missing. And that is the scary part. Those who do not report their children missing. Thank you all for joining me. Hope you're all well out there. Thank you, Nancy. Let's get my notes ready. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This live will be pertaining to theories pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells, suspects, and motives. Thank you for joining. All right. Theories. An acquaintance, family friend, boarder, alleged boarder who was on the property, staying with them. The only problem with this theory of it being an acquaintance, family friend, boarder, worker, utility worker, worker cutting down trees, and or Wi-Fi worker, electrician, whichever, would be going through the rough terrain. Where would they have parked the car? Is it worth it due to it being a high risk of trying to enter onto the property, one, by drive, which you've seen the driveway, that would be risky, being heard, being seen, barking dogs, once again, the terrain itself, if they were to enter through the woods, either direction, where would he or she park their car? The risk of parking the car and getting into the terrain, getting into the house. You're a random stranger. How would you have knowledge of what the child is? You'd have to have knowledge. But you'd have to assume she was outside. That means you'd have to have been lying in wait in the woods to see the child outside. Once again, rough terrain, traveling through the terrain, get to the child, get the child out of there. Back to what? Can't leave on foot because you're out in the wilderness, the woods, rural area. So that means you left your car parked. Risky. Police, law enforcement coming by to see a car on the side of the road. There's no houses by. One would think you were stranded. Now they're going to start calling in the tags, stay woke, of your said car. Remember, there's always somebody watching. Always somebody sees something. Passerby could come by and think you're stranded. Or just call it in being a nosy parker. Hey, there's a car stranded out here. Stay woke. A robber. Do you believe it was a robber? Didn't take anything. House wasn't vandalized. No broken windows, no broken doors, front door or back door, which leads to the children's room. No vandalism, breaking and entering of the camper. Vehicles, nothing was reported stolen from the property, in the house, outside the house. Robber scratched. The child died at the quarry. Heat exhaustion. Drowned, fell, hurt her, hit her head. Insurance policy, which that's why I brought you this information in this commentary pertaining to an insurance policy. Could it be that the parents did not do their homework and got their child missing deliberately to collect the insurance money, which means you cannot collect in the United States without a body unless it is a catastrophic event. So that means if they did murder their child, discarded their child, they will not get the money because one, they did not do their homework. And naturally, when you ask those said questions, if you're planning to kill someone to collect the money. And from my understanding, from my source. They did exact an insurance policy a few months before the child went missing, and information has been brought forth that they could not afford to put insurance on the other children, but Miss Blythe said to the said person, I will when I get more money to put on the boys. And that's what was revealed to me by a source. Tired of her child, his child. The child was rambunctious, too hard to handle. Never wanted her in the first place. The kids did it. Roughhousing, playing too hard, pushed her, hit her, suffocated her. Parents covered it up. Parents beat her, hit her, pushed her. So, children doing it, parents doing it by accident, we cover it up. Either if the kids did it, we did it because of our lifestyle, how it's going to look. They're going to think we did something to her deliberately. We covered it up for ourselves, accidentally covered it up because the kids did it, accidentally because they're naturally going to assume we deliberately hurt our child. Hiding her because CPS was coming for a visit and or to remove the child. Those are allegations, have not been proven. And why has it been spread around? Thank their friend for that information. Sold her for an illegal adoption and or owed money to said persons for narcotics. That has come out of Mr. Donwell's mouth. So we don't have to assume that anymore. Allegedly, somebody came to him with the 211 that they knew of him selling the child for drugs. I just brought you theories pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells. Could it be acquaintance, family friend, the border? But then slash that and think of the risk it would take to get there, to get her out of there. Also remember, it is reported that she may not have been wearing shoes. Stay woke. Where are those shoes? We've heard nothing about the shoes. That is in the initial report. Amber alert. Possibly she doesn't have shoes on. So that means Candace Blythe saw her shoes were left behind. But yet in 6 weeks of commentary on the YT and social media, I have yet to hear Miss Blythe speak of said shoes, what color they were. Were they flip-flops, slide-ons, jellies? What were they? Rain boots? What were they? Tennis shoes? What were they? Stay woke. Remember what I've said to you. Everything you need to know is at the beginning of the story. And that is one thing you have yet to hear about are the shoes that Summer Wells wore the day of her disappearance. So what do you want me and others to believe, Miss Blythe? That your child went into the vehicle with no shoes on June 15th. You had her in regular clothes, a jacket and a long sleeve shirt on a day that would reach 80 degrees, and a swimming attire with no drying towel and or shoes. They won't. Where are the shoes? What kind of shoes was she wearing? That is an initial report. See, that's something you all forgot about. None of you have ever said anything about her shoes. What type of shoes did she have on June 15th? Because if you are saying she possibly was barefoot, then that means what? How would you know she was barefoot when she was abducted, lured? Does she only have one pair of shoes to her name for you to make that claim, Candace Blythe? Your child, girl child, only has one pair of shoes? Stay woke. You are telling me you can't see through the dungeon down there. So how do you know about the shoes? How do you know what she had on her feet? So are you also telling me that your child normally pulls off her shoes when she enters the house? Stay woke. Ask yourself, the child goes barefoot everywhere? even in public. The shoes you had her on were left behind when you realized she was missing and you called 911. What type of shoes did she wear that day? Say what? The motives. Insurance money. But as I said to you, the person has to be declared dead 7 years in the United States in order for the beneficiary to collect the said money, unless it is a catastrophic event. And know that the child had a policy put on her name about 2 months before she went missing. Did they not inquire about this said information, if this is true? To get money from the public, GoFundMe money. Killed her due to abuse, neglect, CPS coming, allegedly. But you have to know that if CPS was coming and they perhaps got the child gone or hid her, why would you do that knowing you would then be suspect number one? Because if I told you I was coming and your child happened to go missing on that same day, then why would I, as an outsider, social worker, agency, law officials, not assume you are behind the disappearance of your child on the day we are to come investigate and or remove your children? Stay woke. Number 4, cold-blooded malice. You two no longer wanted to be involved in being a parent for Summer Wells. You no longer cared to be a caretaker. Envy, jealous, rambunctious child wouldn't mind, child has issues, could be developmental, attitude. I no longer want to participate in raising Summer Wells. I want her gone. Suspects: Donald Wells, Candace Bly Wells, grandmother, boarder who was staying at the house, random stranger, worker, passing by the property, or lost her in the street before coming home, which means lured and or abducted on the way from the quarry. The flute guy, you all have mentioned him. That is not my recommendation, but that is some things that has scored around. No disrespect to you, sir, but that is a name that you all have brought up. The kids, they did something to her. As I stated, roughhousing, playing, goofing off. One thing led to another. She got hurt. Parents covered it up. And some of you have been called to mention the church, which I do not recommend the church as a suspect, but perhaps somebody felt sorry for her. I saw that comment in the chat somewhere. Someone said perhaps somebody at the church knew how she was living. They felt sorry for her and took her. But as I state, when you bring in the variable of an outsider, person that knows them, random person, you have to think of the terrain and where they live. It's not like a regular neighborhood where a person could easily walk by, take your child and possibly nobody saw it, no video cameras, no doorbell cameras, and poof, voila, you walk off into the wind with their child. The terrain is the one reason why it doesn't stick with abduction, being lured, whatever word you like to use. Common sense. You've got to be able to get up there without being seen nor heard. You have to know where she would have been at the time of the abduction and luring of the child, which means you had to have had knowledge from her family. You lied in wait on the property, which also brings forward, how did you get to the property? Because you would have to be able to get to and fro, even to lie in wait. And as you've seen commentary on the YT, the terrain is too steep and not worth the risk for abduction. It is too risky to, one, have somewhere to park your car, someone seeing your car, Someone seeing you go into the woods. Someone seeing you walk up the drive. Being able to get into the house to get her out or get her off the property. Now get her back down the drive and or through the woods. So that means you're either going to do your crime in the woods and leave her there and exit out and get into your vehicle, because you surely wouldn't be doing this by foot. That is the set information. Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. You want to donate to the channel. $ Big Sexy. Big Angie, excuse me. I'm doing my IG now. $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Sorry about that. Thank you for joining me. That is the set information. Tracy says not the flute guy. Night Owl says it's the mother. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Yes, it is after midnight. Here in the high 10 anyway. So if there was a body, they'd get a payout or a 2-year wait. I just said, you cannot claim a body that is missing. 7 years or catastrophic event. Don't know where she was. The only person that knows where Summer Wells was is the person who got her gone. Night Owl says nobody's going in the woods in this heat waiting to do anything sinister. They would fall out. The climb itself is too risky. Not saying a person will not go to the ends of the earth to do foolish things, felonious things, because people have done crazy things, such as breaking into places, crawling in air vents to break into stores. People have gotten stuck in air vents, suffocated to death, trying to rob a store. People have done foolish things now. But this, to me, seems extreme for an abduction. Thank you, Ira. $74 viewer. Thank you. That's that information. Take it or leave it. You're entitled to your interpretation of this case. You're entitled to believe what you want to believe pertaining to the disappearance of this child. You can either believe she was abducted. You can believe that her parents did it. Her family members did it. It's a cover-up. It's for the insurance money. It's for a payout for a drug debt. Somebody came in to swoop the child because they saw what was going on with her. Many assumptions. But the one thing you don't have is evidence of what happened to someone else. Night Owl doesn't think she made it home. Thank you, Teresa. Oh, Lord. Can't get over Don talking about a resurrection. Well, one could view that as his faith, or he's telling on himself. Everything's up for interpretation. Okay. Sandra thinks it's all planned out. I have no idea. Thank you, together. Thank you. So, where's the evidence? Where's the crime scene? Exactly. What happened? Summer Wells. Where did the crime take place? Outside of the house, Rogersville, Kingsport, another place. Where is her body? What are we to believe pertaining to Summer Wells? Where is she? Has she been discarded in another state? They'll think about all of that. And we don't have any of that information from the FBI, so we have to wait until they bring the said information. Why did she pick up Hunter? I don't know. Well, they talk. Obviously, they have Facebook posts of these two canoodling beforehand. So it's not like it's really spurred the moment that she picked up Hunter. They've been talking and coinciding with one another. Story don't add up. I don't know if Hunter's the alibi. I have no idea. 5 people involved. Who were the 5? I'm wondering the story behind Candace's first daughter. She's adopted out. Was this a private adoption or through the state? I have no idea. I don't know anything about that lady. Queen don't know nothing about she. Thank you all for joining me. Were they going to try to pin it on him? Why, after all that time, she picks this kid up? Well, that's the whole point. Everything is up for interpretation. So therefore, you don't really know what is the truth pertaining to these people's relationships, when they last saw each other, dealing with one another. It has been alleged that he has not been to the house in a year. Some of you believe that, some of you don't. I don't know. I really can't say what I think about these people as far as their dealings with one another. Everything is up for interpretation. I find it strange that this lady was talking more to a child than his mother, who allegedly was her friend. So that's suspect 1. 2, they've had some type of altercation, disagreement over a man or whatever else. So why are you allowing your child to be in her company, Facebooking her? So you see, those are the things you have to think about. Perhaps Don relatives properly need search. Hello, May. I think she's buried at family graveyard. Sandra. Okay. And where is this family graveyard? No, I don't think she passed the polygraph. No, I don't. But if you don't have a soul and you don't have any empathy, you could possibly pass the polygraph. The 2 in jail, Don, Candace, Candy Cane. I have no idea. They hadn't talked since the fall. See, that's why I said I don't know. I don't know what was going on between the 2. And you got to remember something. TikTok is only one social media avenue. There's Facebook, there's WhatsApp, there's the telephone. There's a cemetery across the property and one up the road. So you think they're going to risk being seen digging a grave? Is it a working cemetery? Yes, everything is speculation. Hello, Bruce. Everything is speculation because we don't know these people. That's first and foremost. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't really know the circumstances pertaining to June 15th. All you have is a version from a mother and a 15-year-old boy. Someone sits close to the house. Cremated. How are you going to cremate somebody if you don't have the services to do so? The candid statement that's always bothered me is when they said in that interview with Dawn, nothing would happen to someone if she was around. Key point, she wasn't around. Well, that's something that's been mentioned on other commentary, that obviously you weren't watching your child. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatsoever, it doesn't really matter. You weren't watching her. It wasn't the boy's job to watch her. How can children watch someone that's in a whole nother room? The child was down in a dungeon below the kitchen, and you want me to believe that these children were going to watch her? They can't watch her in another room. One, it's not their responsibility. Two, how can they watch her if she went downstairs? So even when she makes that claim, that sounds backwards. You knew that allegedly she was down in the basement from what they said. So how could they watch her if she was downstairs? They couldn't watch her. Exactly. You wouldn't be called back to take a second polygraph if you passed the first one. Indeed. Unless she did it well, and now they're seeing all this he said, she said, and discrepancies, and they're thinking, well, she passed it, but she's a liar. She's making up extra stuff, so let's bring her back in. It's either one or two. It's one or two. She passed it, but they're seeing discrepancies in her conversation and things from boy H, so they called her back. Or two, she didn't pass it, and they want her to take another one, and she lied. Yes, we heard about that. Going down the drive, up the drive, all that. All that's discrepancies to me. Because naturally they live up on a hill. So that means he had to go down the drive in order to see the people that were at the end of the road. So you couldn't have seen the people until you got at the end of the drive. But you said he was coming home. So coming home means you'd be coming up. Strange. David. Well, that's the thing about dumping a body. I've said this 1,000 times for those of you who are not familiar with Tennessee living. It should be kind of obvious at this point, even if you don't live here. There is vast land. You can dump a body that's off the side of the road. You don't have to bury a body. See, burying a body is only done usually by people who know the victim. If you watch true crime, then you'll know that. I gotta bury you because I don't want no questions. I don't want nobody coming around after I give the 211 about you disappearing, gone, da-da-da-da-da. So if I throw your body out where people can find it, then that's not gonna coincide with the lie I told about where you went. But if I don't really give a damn about you, I'm gonna just throw you where I feel like throwing you, which is on the side of the road. In the brushes, in the bushes, whatsoever. I ain't gotta hide you if I don't got nothing invested. That is why you find people in various places in public, such as the park, on the side of the road, on the park, bench, sidewalk, curb, because I ain't got nothing invested. Don't nobody know I killed you. So why am I hide you? Only people close to the victim or acquainted with the victim hides the body. Strangers don't hide bodies, rarely. There's only a few strangers who have took bodies and dumped them off in the wilderness, and that was Theodore Bundy, notorious serial killer. And a few others. But the bodies were eventually found, such as other serial killers dumping them in the river, still wide open. 2 men arrested. What's your point? It's always somebody that you know or close to the person. Exactly. Thank you all for joining. A well on the property. Well, remember, if they had dogs, they would pick up her scent at the well. If you have trained cadaver dogs, they will pick up the scent on the property, in the house. Well, who's to say? Copycat. Well, we got an auntie missing. Let's get her missing. We'll just throw it out there. Hypothesis. Somebody did this. Revenge. Whatever. You don't know the minds of people. So see, this is what you always have to remember about true crime. You, if you are sane, because I don't know you, you just in my chat. But if you have a rational mind, then you're saying to your rational self, I would not do that. So you are trying to hypothesize what a sick person would do. So you're never going to know because you're not sick. Allegedly. Yes, it's true. People get dropped off every day and murdered every day. Some are left visibly and some are not. But as I state, most people who were found buried in an attic, in a tub, in a cellar, in a basement, in the woods, the suspect knew the victim. Well, allegedly, Robin said the dogs were out that night. She didn't specify what kind of dogs. That is from her commentary. Dogs and helicopters is what Miss Lang said on the night of June 15th when she went to the house. Hello, pretty girl. Somebody had to know she was downstairs. You couldn't just walk in that house and easily find your way downstairs. Exactly. You have to know where the stairs were. Well, I don't believe anybody walked in the house and took the child because, first of all, you can see how small it is upstairs, the view that we got from the commentator. So therefore, you as the suspect had to walk by the boys playing the video games. You want me to believe the boys were so immersed in the game they didn't notice a stranger walk by them around that counter and down those steep stairs? Say what? Exactly. Too many lies. Thank you all for joining. I brought you the suspects. I brought you the theories. And I brought you the motives. You're entitled to your opinion. What you think happened to someone else. It is a baffling case. It's not your standard case. TBI let you know that. Ms. Earnhardt, who talked to the public, that they don't have any type of information to how she got gone, when she got gone, which is unusual. And she let that be known in her commentary to the news. And as I brought you commentary pertaining to the disappearance of children, usually children are found within hours of going missing. Very sad. Thank you all for joining. It wasn't supposed to make sense. That's the point of her being gone. Malice, yes, cold-blooded malice is what I believe is behind the disappearance of someone else. As I state, could be wrong. We will see. Gone, baby, gone. Okay. And where is the grandmother? She has left the coop, flown the coop, as they would say. Didn't stay here because she's known to only frequent Tennessee a few months out of the year. We don't know if that's truth or not. You'd have to have verifying records to say she stays gone 4, 5, 6 months at a time out of the state of Tennessee. Thank you all for joining. Yes, the longer it goes, the sadder it's looking really bad. Yes, it is. Maybe it is something to the sister to shut her up. Well, I don't think he was living up there at that time, sweetheart. I don't think. Yes, it's very dangerous up here in East Tennessee because many people who come from other parts of the United States are not accustomed to the steep roads. We have a lot of curvy roads here in Tennessee, and you can overcorrect. There are people who've lived here all their lives, have died driving on roads that they frequent every day. I believe the grandma left because she is a culprit too. Okay. Family, since learning of the daddy history with sexually abusing many family members, then the daddy talking about somebody being sold to a drug dealer. Yes, he should have kept it to himself. The Wells had low-life people around him all the time, saw the chance to take Summer. But as I state, when you say somebody else did it, you have to think it all the way through. See, it's easy to say somebody took somebody. Somebody lured somebody. That can be said for a regular situation, such as people who live in a regular neighborhood, subdivision, apartment complex. They don't live like regular people. So you have to think logically of the terrain, being seen, getting in, getting out. Do you leave the body there or do you take the body with you? You got to think somebody could see you going in, coming out. So if I don't leave her in the woods, then I have to risk being seen coming out with this little girl. See, that's the thing that nobody's thinking about. You're just saying, oh, somebody went up there. Well, how'd they get up there? How'd they get up there undetected? How'd they get out of there undetected? And if they left her body in the woods, they would have found her by now. You won't come clean. You'll fight it to the very end. If he can mess with his sister and his niece, why wouldn't he mess with his daughter too? The way he talks about the love they have for each other is unsettling. Yes, I agree. A child molester doesn't change his or her ways. The only time they change is if they have been put behind bars for a very long, long time to where they don't have access to children. Deviant behavior is very hard to cure. Child molestation, rape, serial killers, they will tell you they will reoffend if free. That's been said by rapists, child molesters, and serial killers. They don't have any self-control. Thank you, darling. Thank you, Chuck. The grandma should have never been allowed to leave till they found that baby. Maybe the police don't suspect her. Preston, come on now. I'm sorry to hear that, Lady Donna. I don't think they'll ever find her body out there. It's been too long. It's hot, yes. And that's what Rader made a point of saying, as diplomatically as he could, that the Summer that we're possibly looking for is not the Summer that you're seeing in photographs. Sadly, because I don't think some of us even thought about that. How is she going to look like the Summer in the photos and the videos so many days, weeks into hot weather, out in the element, wild animals are out in the element? You don't really know what happened to her by the culprits, so you can't say. But if she was discarded in the elements, you can use common sense that the elements have deteriorated her body. She's also possibly been mangled by wildlife. Yes, probable cause indeed for the grandmother to have to stay. That's why I said perhaps they don't have any information that she is a suspect or a party to this disappearance of the child. Well, I hope they checked all vehicles. You know, 9 times out of 10, they've checked all vehicles on the property pertaining to this house. They've checked the house. They've checked all the vehicles that are not running on the said property, looked under the vehicles. All phone records devices are being analyzed. Everybody they've ever talked to on the phone, social media, they are being analyzed. Hello, everybody in the chat. So now May says the grandmother knows exactly what happened. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. So you think the grandmother knows what happened and that's why she's gone? I think it was extremely telling when Chris said that Summer slept in her parents' bed. I was questioning that myself today when I was watching some of Chris' content pertaining to the profilers he had on his panel. When I was looking downstairs in that basement, I didn't like the view, quick panning of the room. It's nothing down there. It's not a child's room. It's the room upstairs isn't a child's room, and the one downstairs is worse than the one upstairs. And then I had to weigh which would be more feasible. Children on the bottom level, children on the top. Smaller children, should they be on the top level or should they be on the bottom? But they're downstairs with the parents, so one can say, well, I got them down here by me. They're safe. But you also have a door that leads to the room where the two smaller children live. So if we're to believe that they were abducted, got some phantom running around, he or she had access to their room by that door. All you do is break out the glass. You couldn't pop the lock. Everything's up for interpretation. Sexual abuse by several male relatives. So what are you saying? The children were touching her? Come on now. I don't necessarily think that's why she's gone, but I do think she knows something. Why do people think it's possible? It's impossible for her to be cremated. David Dolson is a mortician. Yes, but you're putting blame on somebody that we don't know is involved, sweetheart. We don't know that that man has anything to do with this. And is that fair for us to think that he has something to do with the disappearance of the child because he's a mortician? Let's be truthful. Would you even think he had any involvement if you didn't know he was a mortician? What if he was a baker, worked at McDonald's? Would you still think then he had something to do with the disappearance of the child because you saw him, one, playing a flute, and two, heard that he's a mortician. So that got your mind twiddling, running a. Well, he works with dead people. He must have a fascination with dead people. So he did something. Once again, I'm going to say it again. How did he get her? You see, you can't throw out somebody took somebody without breaking it down. They don't live in a normal neighborhood. You got to go up a lonely drive to their house, which means you're going to be seen or heard. Then the woods. You want me to believe somebody did all that traveling by foot to get a child, not knowing if she's home? You can't see their house from the road, either direction, to know if they're even there. Yes. That's why I said it. That's why she probably felt they were safe, because they stayed downstairs. Because he came out about his family. I don't know what you're talking about. He moved them back down there with them to sleep. I don't know. That's a good question. Why would they feel unsafe upstairs? Because my thing is, either way you look at it, you have two ways for a person to enter your home. They can enter upstairs through your main door, and they can enter through the basement. So if a person wants to get in your house, they will go by all means necessary. That's the game of breaking and entering. By all means necessary. Okay, y'all going back to that crotch stuff. And then Summer's brothers have been said to have touched one another. Where are you getting that from, April? So now y'all bringing in extra foolishness now. Everything you all are saying is gossip. You never heard the parents say they abused their children, sexually abused them. You don't have any confirmation of anything. Doctor's visits, no doctor visits. Urinary tract infections, sexual molestation. All you have is somebody related to Don Wells saying he touched them, allegedly. You don't have a receipt that they abused their kids. Now you're talking about the boys touching this. Come on now. I don't know, man. What before? What happened, Irene? It was said in an interview. You mean somebody else? Who said it, April? Yes, you can get a urinary tract infection from all sorts of reasoning. How you bathe, how you're wiping, products you're using, such as perfume washes, detergents, drinking too much soda pop. Who's to say that she ever got water? You don't even know if her parents gave her water to drink. They might be soda pop drinkers, punch drinkers. You'll get a urinary tract infection. You don't drink no damn water. Stay woke. Look at the mother. Her teeth are missing. So that means she didn't take care of her own teeth hygiene. So why are her teeth missing? Is it from too much soda, candy, wrong foods, not taking care of your teeth, not brushing, not flossing, and or drug related? Those are the things you have to think about. Before this happened, they all slept down there to feel safe. What's going on? Something was happening before all of this. Such as what, Irene? Yes, Mildred. You have to be careful about what you listen to. Exactly. Tight jeans. Yes. Bubble baths. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes, we know the children were neglected. Yes. You look at the mother, how she carries herself. I keep telling you, self is first. You don't care much about yourself, your own appearance. Why are you going to care about your children? You can look at the property. Did you miss the property? Did you see all the debris out there? All that stuff that's collected? You want me to believe all that stuff was there before they moved there? No, somebody brought that stuff up there. The littering, they did that. No phantom littered the property. No phantom came in the house and cluttered their house with stuff all on the kitchen table, clothes everywhere, paint thrown on that partition that takes you down to the stairs. There's no care of self with the Wells. The house itself is gross. Outside is gross, negligent, clutter, hazard to all parties. Inside, who wants to climb down those type of stairs to go downstairs? Come on now. Yes, and the issues about no food being eaten. That's why I kept trying to tell you. Who's to say that the child got urinary tract infections because she wasn't eating properly, drinking a lot of soda pops? You never heard the woman say she bought food at Sonic's. She said, we bought slushy. So one would say, well, she bought food. Wouldn't she tell us? Perhaps. Perhaps not. I don't know why they wouldn't want the money for it, sweetheart. Maybe they have other ways of making money. Yes. Interviews in no summer. Exactly. Hello, everybody. Yes, cluttered house, cluttered mind. Indeed. That is true. Yeah. Well, they got something in their kitchen. They had food. Because when you go look at the videos, you can see stuff sitting on the kitchen table that resembles food. So she's buying something. It looked like a pirate ship. What are you talking about? Oh, Lord Jesus. $98 viewing. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Too much on the property. Too much stuff. Too much stuff that's hazardous. Too easy for a child to get hurt, injure themselves. Just like when she was, the video of her jumping up and down in the rain, all that broken concrete. It's hideous to me. She could have cut her foot, could have failed, bust her face, knock her teeth out. It's insanity to me that anybody would think that's a safe environment for a child. And you're right, buses, trucks don't work. Why? Nonsense. That camper looks no better than the house. All that stuff around the camper, leaning up against the camper, and then you talking about planting flowers. Who gives a hell about some flowers? Clean this stuff up. Clean this property up. Clean the outside of this property. Make it look cohesive. Then worry about planting flowers. Well, Sheila, a lot of people have mental problems and they don't live like that. We do know that people hoard things from, yes, traumatic situations, death, this and that. Maybe they had a rough childhood, they didn't have much, so they just accumulate stuff. But as you can see, the stuff on the property is junk. It's not anything of value. The stuff that's in the house isn't of value. It's not like they got shopping bags from Nike and the outlet malls. You're not looking at stuff from Bergdorf and Macy's up and down. Okay. Well, Universal, you might want to check it out. Well, we don't know if CPS was ever involved beforehand. You're only going by conversation from Miss Allen. So you don't have verification of CPS being involved in the Wells' personal life. You don't have anything. And the only way you're going to find out is if they decide to divulge that information to the public. Yes, litter bugs. No care for wildlife or Mother Earth. Indeed. Okay. Night Owl says, I can't believe they got water or heat. It's so funny. Well, perhaps so. But they didn't care about themselves. So I'm just one of those type of people. I believe self is first. Self-preservation is first. You can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. You don't love yourself, you can't love others. Because you came here before you had the children, you see. You were here before you got with a man or a woman. So self is first. I I think Chris said they're close to a bingo. Well, where you going with that, Sheila? Lord have mercy. Y'all just bringing up all kind of stuff. Lord, my eyes like water. My allergies acting up. I got this fan blowing on me. What does bingo have to do with anything? Help me understand. Where we going with the bingo? Hold on 1 second. This air is killing me. It's making me sick. Hold on. Thank y'all for joining me. Welcome to Everyday Shenanigans. Now I don't know nothing about no bingo hall. Most bingos halls are in the state of Kentucky. That's where people have traveled to over the years from the state of Tennessee to go play bingo. For those that do not know. Okay, thank you for waiting. You just have to go on Chris Don on the interview room. It's a channel on YouTube. So now you're saying he said the children, she's been sleeping in the bed with them for 5 years. Well, a lot of people let their smaller children sleep with them when they're infants. And then before you know it, it's 6 months, it's a year, it's 2 years, 4 or 5. The kids are still sleeping with their parents. That is not unheard of. Children still sleeping with their parents. You have children that's 10, 11, still sleeping in the beds with their parents, which I don't recommend, but people do things differently. Oh, Granny playing bingo? Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that either. Well, I didn't watch the interview with the interview room and Don Wells, so that's why I wouldn't know about it. I did watch the sleep so you got me saying sleeping. The swimming hole interview with Candace. I watched that. But I didn't feel the need to watch anything about Don Wells because I don't care for Don Wells. I don't like his attitude. And I think he's using this disappearance to his advantage to, Bible thump and walk around spewing Bible verses. I don't get down with that type of foolishness. No, you may never get the truth. And that's going to be the scary part about this situation. If indeed this child is not brought forth by one of the culprits or culprits, somebody confesses something, somebody discovers her out and about, it is a doomed situation. And that's just the truth. Yeah, I don't want to watch anything about Dawn. I thought about it today earlier, but instead the queue came up on its own when I had YouTube on with the profilers. I want to hear what the profilers have to say. I was falling in and out of sleep today watching them, excuse me, So I would prefer to hear a professional's opinion pertaining to the disappearance of a child or person, because their opinion to me matters more than my own thinking and listening to what other people have to say. I'd rather talk to somebody or hear somebody who has experience with missing people, persons, children, because they work with people, they've seen people, they've evaluated people who are killers, child molesters, rapists, sadists. So to me, their opinion matters more. Yes, somebody needs to be found. Well, the thing about it is he's, as I say, he's a false prophet. All he does is spew Bible verses. Nobody wants to hear Bible verses. If I want to know what's in the Bible, I can go look for myself. I don't need Don Wells to tell me what's in the Bible. I don't need a random person telling me what's in the Bible. That's why it's an open book. Go find out what you need on your own. Well, that camper probably wasn't meant to take as travel. That's her living quarters while on their property. Obviously, she had somewhere to stay up in Wisconsin. The longer it takes, the less likely this baby going to be found alive. At least this is so sad. Well, if she was discarded, she's not alive. That's common sense. And what's left of her would probably be hard to find, depending on where she was discarded. But you have to think of the elements of the wildlife. And then you also have to think about how she was discarded. You don't know how she was discarded. You don't even know if she was wholly discarded. See, because we don't know anything. We are speculating on the who, the where, the what, the how, and the when. Yes, it's a duck. Negligent charges, yes. Well, you see, in Cal City, those children got taken off the grid day one. What is the difference with this story? Why were the children removed so late in the game? The boy children. And what did the boy children see? That's a video I wanted to do. Since I had this topic here, I may do that one maybe tomorrow. Because the boys are actually the answer to the story for those who are not woke. It is what the children have been experiencing and seeing on June 15th will tell the story. So we will see. We will see. Public pressure to remove the children. Well, let's just go here. Why do you all think the boys were removed? Because Donna Wells, Candace Bly is saying that the removal of the boys does not have anything to do with the disappearance of Summer. So then why were they removed? Just saying. Yes, no rumors is going to help, but that's all this case is built on, are rumors, speculations, and alleged conversations by Boy H and his mother. Yes, children feel safe, they will talk. I'm sure the children are talking. Okay, good night, honey. I have no idea who she is. I think they told the boys what to say, regardless of what the boys actually saw or heard. Yes, but May, they're not in the company of their children. And as we said, once children become comfortable, they will talk. It may be in the most innocent of a setting. He could be at the table eating cereal, one of the children, or playing a game, or on a walk, and slip something out without trying to. Because you have to remember, a child doesn't have the fortitude to hold a lie at a young age. We're not talking about putting your hand in a cookie jar and ask that you eat the cookie. We're talking about years of abuse, perhaps, and or whatever else could have went on. It will probably come out one way or the other. If it's because of the house, police saw that day one, so that's not exactly. But see, that's another thing that I think is a very interesting point. Why didn't they get removed day one? Now that we see the house, she didn't even have the decency to even try to clean her house up. Because like I told you, it would take weeks to clean the property and the house up. You'd have to have somebody to help you do both, inside and out. So the police, law enforcement saw what was on that property and in that house day one when they reported their children missing, and you all thought that was fit for those children. So there is something wrong with the legal system out there. We do have to go ahead and say that. So since Don got a problem with him, well, we got a problem with him now. Because why did they allow those children to stay there, seeing how they were living, electrical wires running, surges running, makeshift light fixtures, all that type of stuff? It's a accident waiting to happen, a fire hazard. Debris all over the property, litter, animals. You forgot animals have to use the bathroom. Stay woke. Who's feeding all those animals? I thought about that today when I saw the video. Once again, on interview with the profilers, who's feeding all those animals? Who has money to feed grown dogs and puppies and cats and kittens? Stay woke. The children will slip up at some point. Come on now. You know that. Therapeutic foster care. Never heard of such. What's the difference between that foster care and a regular foster home? Considering children go in foster homes every day. And most of them are traumatized. So I don't understand that comment. Yes, it's a very dangerous place for children. That's what I said. You come through there one night, jigged up, toe up. You could easily ride off the side of the little mountain. I don't know how steep it is, but you understand what I'm saying. And let H tell it. She stayed loopy under the influence of something, plural. She doesn't need to be up there living either. Now, if she want to live up there by herself, that's her business. So she can stay up there now because she don't have any children. Amen. Hello, Sarah. How are you, dear? Yes, diseases, exactly. They've not been taken to the vet, so you're not thinking about that as well. The animals don't have adequate medical care. 9 times out of 10, they have fleas from the kittens and the dogs and the puppies and the kittens. You're taking that stuff back into your house. You're holding them. You see, she picked up that kitten in that interview with Chris, and the kitten's been outside. Come on now. Candace says she was in the basement with Layla. She's 9 years old, so please tell me who is Layla. Denise, I don't know who you have to ask somebody in the chat. I don't know who you're talking about. Yes, ticks. All type of outside creatures. Well, basically, as I say, I brought you information pertaining to how many children are reported missing every year. The demographics of who would get a child missing is more probable for children's family members to abduct them. Most children are abducted by a family member, mainly female, under the age of 6. You have to declare a body. You have to show proof of a death in order to get monies, life insurance policy. The only time they will give you money for a body, it's not been surfaced. It's either catastrophic event and or the decedent has been missing for 7 years. And I also brought you theories of how the child went missing and the motives for how the child went missing. The Ram Shack. Talking about y'all doing a lot down there. Well, I'm not gonna hold you all. That is the set information I have. Feel free to go back to the beginning of the video to get the set information pertaining to how many children are missing in America. And as I say, we don't know the number. That children are not reported, and those who are actually alive. Let me say that. There are probably God knows how many people who are actually alive and was held hostage in a house for felonious reasons. And as you've seen, some were able to escape as they got older. And you've seen that with those said women who have been able to escape their captor, and they were with them for many years. So we don't really know how many people are actually alive out there who have been deemed missing. They may not even be deceased. They may just be held against their will. But like I said, that is a cruel thing to do to a human, to kidnap them or lead them out, lure them under the guise of this and that, and then lock them in a room, basement, under a bed. I've heard of all type of crazy things. Women being put in beds, boxes under mattresses, under beds. Very cruel. Holes in the box so they could breathe. That's just a terrible way to live. And I don't think many people would even think about somebody putting you in a box under their bed, and they have a spouse or girlfriend, and you're lying under that bed where they're sleeping, hearing their every move, conversation, having sex, all of that, with no regard for your life, in a box under their bed, in a basement, in an attic, in a cellar, in a shed, in a garage, hidden, and nobody knows it. Well, we will see if it goes to trial. We first got to get our suspects, Nancy. Oh, why would you take insurance policy? Because maybe you don't make enough money. And maybe she was the one they wanted missing. She was the one that they could stand to lose. As I state, go back to the beginning of my video. I bring you the who and the why to the disappearance of Summer Wells. They are only theories and alleged motives. But if you have no regard for life, it doesn't matter. Perhaps, as I state, she was the rambunctious child, the problem child, the one that's too much work, too hard to handle. So we will get rid of her. We will put an insurance policy out on her. But where they messed up, if indeed this is the motive, you have to have a body in order to collect the money. So you cannot collect on the policy on the missing person, and you also have to continue paying on the policy, whether she surfaces or not. But allegedly, the policy was taken out 2 months or so before she went missing. Oh yes, universal is crucial. Her grandfather's property, Tracy. Yes, and prayers for the Wells boys. Let's also keep them in our prayers. When we pray for Summer, we need to also pray for her brothers, because they didn't ask to be here, and they did not choose Candace Bly or Mr. Donald Wells as their parents, nor any felonious behavior, circumstances to their upbringing, or ill will. You understand what I'm saying? She's not here. She's long gone. Well, Miss Irene, you have to remember, you're talking about people who are possibly sociopaths, psychopaths. So people will say all type of things when they are guilty. That's why I said everything's up for interpretation. We don't have any proof that these people murdered the children. Really, all we have to go on, is their commentary. And as the profiler said on somebody's channel, what you do and I do is two different things. How you behave and I behave. How people behave in a traumatic situation may not be how you would behave. And that's why people are judged. They don't show any emotion. They don't cry. They're not pleading to the public. They don't seem engaged. Got a lot of sins, a lot of this, a lot of that. So we're judging. But then perhaps they don't have anything to do with it. And that has happened. People who appeared guilty were not brought up on charges of murder. Well, let's just say if he did get the policy and didn't inquire about the logistics of getting the money. Perhaps they went and got the policy and didn't think that they needed a body in order to collect the money. Why would I want you found if I got you gone? Stay woke. See, there's a reason to get gone. There's a reason not to aid in trying to find you. That defeats the purpose of me wanting you gone. Why am I going to look for something that I got rid of? You threw away your old shoes. You didn't want them shoes no more. Do you go back in the garbage can to retrieve the shoes, the purse, the shirt, the jacket, the pants? Stay woke. I ain't got to look for what I didn't want in the first place. I didn't need you. I don't want you. So I'm not going to aid in no search. I'm not going to thank the searchers. I'm not going to thank the search team. I'm not going to thank the law enforcement. I'm not going to thank the public. What I'm going to do is talk in circles and play around with the law book 1 and 2 because I can, because I'm a clout chaser. I'm a sociopath. I'm a demon. I'm a psychopath. I don't know, Tracy. Only a fool would go tamper with a body at this point. Think about it. Because you forgot they're watching. Who's to say they don't have anybody watching them now? Although it would be obvious because of how it's set up out there where they live. They would notice unmarked cars following them around. And that's another thing. Is law enforcement tailing the Wells? Well, there is a policy allegedly out on the girl child. You all need to go back to the beginning of my video. It is alleged from a source there is a policy on Summer Wells. But as I state, you can't get the money without the body. And if the body is foul play, homicide, if indeed there's something to even bring forth evidence, the parents will be the first ones they will look at. So therefore, there won't be a payout until the insurance company deems you not as the suspects, the beneficiaries. What are you talking about, a drone? Yes, my source tells me a policy was taken out on her. And the mother said she did not have the money for the other boys. She could not afford, but she will put policies on the boys when she gets more money. That's what was told to me. I hope they are watching. Because don't you find it funny? H tells you that his phone had not been returned when he did that interview with Mr. Chris. So one would have to say, if they have H's phone, stay woke, why would they not have Candace and Mr. Wells' phone still? Why would law enforcement still have their telephones? Stay woke. Because you're talking about going back possibly years of deciphering information, apps, text messages, TikTok messages, videos, Facebook messages, posts, Messenger. Stay woke. Phone calls in and out on several devices, computers, searches. You forgot about that. Your Google searches. They also check that. Maybe another 2 to 7 years to do a payout. It is suspicious to take out a policy on only one child. Makes no sense. Why would you even say that? I'm only worried about her. Well, why would you be worried about her? How can you be worried about one child and not your other three? What is the difference between a boy and a girl? Boys get into more mischief. So it's like to me, you'd be more concerned about your boy child children getting hurt or harmed. Stay woke. Yes, allegedly the child was supposed to collect the grandfather's property. Youngest what, Nancy? Well, ain't nobody getting no money without the body. That's just off the top. And the child is missing, and there's rumors and rhetoric and speculations about what happened to the child. And then two, you don't know what law enforcement has seen as far as insurance policy. You don't know what the people that told the law enforcement about the insurance policy. And ain't no insurance company at this point gonna hand out nothing because it's in most states. You have to have a body. You also have to have an autopsy pertaining to the person. Now you have a child missing. They're not gonna get any money. If she showed up today, deceased, as I state, you have to have an autopsy. If foul play is assumed in her death, you're not going to get a payout. Nadal says if you're barely making it, it would be hard to come up with the monthly payments. Well, as I state, you're driving a nice truck, you're making payments on that unless you bought it outright. You have nothing but animals. You got to feed them. You have children and a family to feed, toiletries to buy. You need to have life insurance on all parties involved. Stay woke. So basically what you're saying is they're picking and choosing what to spend their money on. If she passes, who becomes the steward of the property? Possibly her mother. But somebody would probably contest that. To say he did not want his daughter to get the property. But as you see, I brought you commentary pertaining to James Brown. His estate has finally been settled after 15 years of his family wrangling. And Mr. Brown, the legendary James Brown, did not want his children getting his money. But as you see, the said ones he didn't want to get it are now getting a portion of his estates. So in the end, his wishes were not granted. Because that's the whole point, that when you are dead, you don't have no say so. It is up to a judge to decide who will get your belongings. Did I hear of a small body found in the Tennessee River this morning? Don't know how true it is. No, I have not heard. Nice property minus the trash in the buildings. Well, anything can be nice, no matter if it's in the city, the country, the county, the wilderness, the mountains, the desert. It's all the same. It's how you treat what has been given to you. You either like it or you don't. And the way you treat your things shows if you really care about your things. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for the mods on deck. If you want to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. I'm going to check out of here, but I want to thank you all for joining me. If you want to go back to the beginning of the video where I give you commentary pertaining to missing children in America and the stats, the motives, the suspects, and the theories pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells, that is in the beginning of this commentary. You're entitled to believe what you want pertaining to the disappearance of the child. You're entitled to believe the motives of the child. If you indeed you believe she was murdered, you're entitled to believe what you want as far as her being lured and or kidnapped. But what I do say in my commentary is that when you put out the narrative that the child was lured and or abducted, you have to also finish it on how he or she got to the property. How did he or she get her out of the property unnoticed and unheard, out the job and or through the woods? Because it is easy to throw out a narrative of kidnapping, but you have to be able to finish it. And finish it means, how did he or she get her away from the property unseen, including her and themselves? You see, it's easy to throw up a theory, but make it make sense. I want to thank you all for joining me. God bless all of you. Have a safe week. I will be bringing you more commentary pertaining to a story out of Memphis, Tennessee, a very horrific story of 3 grandchildren who severely abused their grandmother, left her unattended in her own sloth, and the rest. I want to thank you all. Thank the mods. God bless all of you. Prayers for Summer Wells and her brothers. Prayers for Chad Carr, 32, missing out of Clinton, Tennessee, from the foundation. Mindy Lowe is the operator of that said foundation. She needs to stand account for what happened. The workers and the clients also need to stand account for what happened to Chad Carr. They were there last with that said missing person. Tashina Kyle, 27, missing out of Knoxville, Tennessee. She has not been seen or heard of. Somebody knows something about both parties missing out of East Tennessee. Somebody knows something. You see something, say something. I want to thank you all. God bless all of you. Stay safe. This is Everyday Shenanigans.